Hello, everybody. Welcome to day one of the NingXia Red Challenge. I'm going to be waiting for Jim Bob to hop on here any second. And Jim Bob and I are going to talk a little bit of science and nutrition and make this as simple and fun and entertaining as possible. So this is going to be one exciting month with all of you making NingXia a regular part of your lifestyle. As you're hopping on, as we often do, just chime in with who, actually where you're listening from. I expect with the number of people in this group that we have people tuning in from around the globe, eager to make NingXia Red part of their regular lifestyle in this new year. Again, I'm Tom Nicola. I'm going to just wait here for one moment as we wait for Jim Bob to tune in with us. It looks like he just showed up on camera. We're going to do this side by side so that we can just have a conversation, a fun, interesting, a hopefully entertaining conversation about NingXia Red and make this a regular part of your lifestyle this month. So, excuse me for just 1 minute as I tap some of the controls here and we get Jim Bob on right alongside us, or right alongside me. He should be showing up here any second. Wow, it's amazing. There's almost 100 people already tuning in. Jim Bob's just getting added. Good morning.
What's up? What's up? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, absolutely. Happy New Year.
Perfect. Happy New Year to you, buddy. It's good to see your face.
Yes, it's so cool to be able to do this like we're sitting here right alongside in our living room.
I know, it's like hanging out. I should go get my NingXia shot right now so we can have our morning drink together. You know?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, well, I kind of set this up as we were waiting for you to get on, trying to say that we're going to make this as fun and entertaining as possible, but get into a little bit of the science behind NingXia Red and hopefully help people understand why they need to be taking this on a daily basis and really what they're missing out when they don't. One of the things that I've come to realize over the years is that it's one thing to know about a supplement, it's one thing to know about a nutrition practice, it's a whole other thing to do it on a daily basis. So true. I hope that with some of the stuff we'll share today that people will make this a regular part of their everyday lifestyle.
Yep, me too.
And that's kind of the goal here.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start off a little bit by just talking about, Vanessa just passed me a note here. She said, introduce yourself, introduce Jim Bob. So let's start off with that. I'll let you
see, I'm like you. Thank God for my wife. You know, like thank goodness in the new year. That's my one main thing I'm thankful for, to keep me straight in 2018. All right, proceed. You may proceed. That's
okay. Awesome. Yes. All right. So I'll let you go first, and then I'll introduce myself after you do so.
Sweet. Hey, guys. I'm Dr. Jim Bob Hagerton. I'm a chiropractor from Texas. Now full-time home with my beautiful bride, Cindy, running our Diamond Team YL business with our 4 kids. Newly adopted Golden Doodle dog last night, Nitro, which is awesome.
What a great name.
I know. I thought so. Cindy goes, don't you think he's going to be hyper naming him that name? I'm like, no, because Nitro is not an energy shot. It's a cognitive enhancer. He's going to be smarter. I was like, boom. So, but yeah, so we are in Texas, and it is horribly wintry cold here at like 30 degrees. I know that you guys don't understand that from the north. I know. We're really suffering here. But yeah, so excited to be on here. And I am a NingXia user, addict / lover extraordinaire, for sure. So
awesome. And I'm Tom Nicola. I am Vanessa Romero's husband. Vanessa and I are diamonds as well. Vanessa got started back in January of 2014, and we've been working together since February of 2015. And my background is predominantly health and fitness. I started out as a personal trainer back in 2001, and as my career grew, focused a lot more of my education and passion around nutrition and metabolism. And so the idea of doing education like this is something that I absolutely love. And
Yes.
certainly, one of the things that I want to make mention of as we get started, hopefully when all of you guys are tuning in, you always have a pen and paper handy. And anytime that I am partnering with someone in a presentation, I always have a notebook handy, because every time I hear from Jim Bob, he always drops just amazing nuggets of information. So I got my pen and paper handy. Hopefully all of you have it as well. And so let's just jump into it. Cool?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about specifically, how would you describe what NingXia Red is? So someone who is brand new to it, maybe they ordered their NingXia Red package, they've got the bottles or they've got the packets, but they really don't know what it is other than something that tastes good.
The thing that I would use to describe it, because people don't understand what an antioxidant is, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but if you go, well, it's an antioxidant drink, they're like, that's awesome. I'll see you tomorrow. And then they'll walk off because they really don't understand what that even means. So I just tell people it's a superfood drink. They understand what superfoods are. They understand, like most people understand like smoothies and drinking their nutrition. Like that's something that's not foreign to most people, even if they're not on a health and wellness journey. So I call it our company's superfood drink.
Awesome. Okay. So because antioxidant often comes up in the midst of a conversation around that, and you're exactly right. People are like, "Oh yeah, that's cool."
Yeah, and totally. Antioxidants. Yeah.
So what are we talking about when we talk about antioxidants?
Sure. Well, antioxidants are the things in the body, or the things that you're ingesting in your diet, that are helping to free your body and clean out in your body free radicals. And so free radicals are like, now that it's wintertime in Texas, I can actually use the example, but free radicals are like exhaust on a car. So, up north, you guys get this more than us, but when you start your car and there's the white stuff that comes out the back, the exhaust, that's a normal byproduct of the engine working, obviously, but it's not safe for the engine, and it's not good for the engine for that exhaust to not be able to get out. It needs to be able to process through and then exit the back of the car. Well, that's how free radicals are in the body. So just us being on video right now, Tom and I are creating free radicals. Like you guys watching and listening to us go on, and seeing my face huge in the screen because I have T-Rex arms. Like I just was like, I'm like, I can't hold it out enough. Like I don't have my stand. I'm at my in-laws' house, but because of my T-Rex arms, you're getting more free radicals because it's stressful, in your body. But your body has to be able to get that stuff out. If it doesn't, then the free radicals over time will decrease function in certain cells or affect organ systems or whatever. So antioxidants help to get those out of your system. And you have some that are made in the body, but then others that you ingest through diet and supplementation and things like that, like NingXia Red.
Okay. So you brought up the fact that the body does make some antioxidants itself.
Yes.
And that the production of free radicals is inevitable, right? I mean,
right.
Just the process of living, we're going to.
You could lay on the couch and breathe and do nothing and barely even eat and produce around 30 billion free radicals a day.
And what causes more free radicals?
Stress, activity, being married, having kids, leaving the house, getting dressed. So like life in general will cause more free radicals for sure.
And so the more energy that we expend from one aspect, so exercise, obviously, the more intense we exercise, the more free radicals we produce.
Exactly. Right? And that's just it's just like hitting the accelerator on the engine of that car. So you produce more exhaust when you rev up the engine because it needs to get more of the byproduct out of the engine. It's just like that in the body.
Right. And so that's not to say that exercise is necessarily detrimental, because our body should be able to handle some of those free radicals that are produced, and there's all kinds of health benefits. So if you heard that and you're like, oh, I want to live longer, I don't want to produce free radicals. So
perfect. I don't have to get on the treadmill.
Yeah, that's not a great solution. So when it comes to antioxidants, we can get some of them. Our body produces some on its own. Glutathione is the predominant, the main antioxidant in our bodies. There's other ones as well. Micronutrients, vitamins like vitamin E, of course, are antioxidants. So if we get some of them through our diet already and our body's producing some, why supplement with additional antioxidants?
Well, because no matter how much that you're producing inside the body, you can't keep up with the demands of what life produces and what the body's having to produce on the side of the free radicals. Like we just can't keep up. And as far as getting it out of diet, you're not, even though you're getting good antioxidants out of like blueberries or out of your salad or whatever, anything, your kale, it's not enough. Like you're talking about, one serving of blueberries is around like 2,000, ORAC scale on the antioxidant level, which means you're getting around 2,000, let's say, antioxidants. And the antioxidants that you're ingesting, it's kind of a one-to-one. One antioxidant will kill off one free radical. Well, there's no way to eat the amount of carrots and kale you need to kill it off. So you need superfood type supplements like NingXia Red in order to get over the top to stay on top of it. Because like you said, Tom, like the working out thing, it's not that working out's bad, but if you're working out all the time, hardcore, like the CrossFitters on here or whoever, you're running all the time, but you eat like crap and you don't take in any antioxidants, you're going to be a really fit, really aged person because your body will age. Like that's the people that you see at the gym that you're like, dang, that 60-year-old is ripped. And they're like, well, I'm actually 42. And you're like, whoa, because they just don't get enough antioxidants. And so even though it's good for the body will break down faster, without it.
Yep. That's a really great point. One of the things over the years that I've noticed, and again, this isn't to knock endurance athletes, because if you're gifted in that sport and you're going after it and it's something you have passion for, that's awesome.
Yeah, rock.
One of the things that I've seen is, especially in people who've done multiple triathlons for decades, they do age.
Or whatever. Yep.
Yeah, they do age at a lot more of an accelerated rate. Now that doesn't mean that everyone does, because the better that they are with their nutrition and probably antioxidants, consuming the right supplements and so on, and making sure that they recover, the better. But that is an enormous stress on the body in terms of endurance activity or excessive amounts of aerobic activity and so on.
Yeah, they just have to be really diligent about getting more. Like if you're not that active and you're not doing as much, you still require antioxidants and you still need extra, but you're not going to need the massive level that you will when you are doing more endurance activities or when you get on a really good fitness program with Tom and Vanessa the first of this year. I mean, it's going to be a little bit different. You need to amp that up.
Right. So one of the things that I've seen happen often at this time of the year is, of course, people go from the not getting quite enough sleep, eating really lousy over the holiday season, eating a ton of sugar, and then they say, okay, I'm gonna change things up. I'm gonna cut down on the carbs. I'm gonna start exercising. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that, and they start adding all of this stuff to their body and to their lifestyle and so on. And you mentioned stress. There's mental stress, there's physical stress, and sometimes what happens is we try to take on too much when we've got 4 pages of New Year's resolutions, and a lot of that includes more activity and more this and more that. Right. And that also, of course, is going to increase the demand for antioxidants, the nutrition, and so on. Because one of the common themes that I saw happen when I was working in the gyms was about that there would be a major influx between the second week and the fourth week of January as people started taking action. And then by the middle of February, a significant number of people were starting to get sick. They were getting worn down. They were feeling beat up. They're like, man, this exercise thing is way more effort than my body can handle, because they take on too much too quick, or they're not getting enough quality nutrition.
Yeah, totally.
So in terms of those who say, you know what, I've got New Year's resolutions, I'm going to do the Sleek in 60 challenge, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to take up more activity, I would say, you will probably need even more NingXia than those that are taking it a little bit slower, right?
No, I totally agree. And one of the great things about the NingXia is that it's so easy to add in. It's not like you're having to go, okay, let me go get this label and let me figure out exactly how much protein, exactly how much glutamine or glutathione or whatever supplement that you want to add in. You're like, I'm going to go grab 2 ounces. I'm going to knock that out twice a day, and I'm going to get massive amount of antioxidants as I'm starting this new program. Because the other thing I see too is that we're like, oh man, I'm going to lose 100 pounds in 4 weeks. I'm going to do all this stuff, and I'm going to change my whole life, which is great. I'm all about the motivation of it. But Craig Rochelle, pastor of Life Church, I love that he talks about bite-sized goals and then his BHGs, big hairy goals. And he's like, look, take off some bite-sized goals, like move more, now than you were in December, but don't go run a marathon tomorrow. Like, that doesn't make sense. Or don't go do your first CrossFit competition on Friday. Or, hey, let's eat better, but don't completely annihilate everything in the house and stop eating everything that your body's used to. Because like you said, Tom, all of that adds extra stress, and you can do everything right and make yourself horribly sick, like in a very short amount of time. And that's when they're like, oh, I started my new program first of the year, and I would have totally killed it, but I got the flu like 5 days in. I'm like, no, you didn't. You made yourself sick because you stressed your system out too much with the good. Because, you know, you and I have talked about this, and we've both talked about this a lot, but good stress and bad stress is still stress in the body. Like, your body still has to handle it, and it still has to process it. So whether it's, hey, I've got this new goal to lose 60 pounds, which is physically stressful in a good way. It's mentally stressful in a good way, but like, you're having to figure out all the semantics, and it's emotionally stressful. Like, you're changing your entire identity. You know, like, you're changing who you are. You're becoming a completely new person. So you're taking all three of those and you're changing everything up, and you're like, hey, all three together means that that's a lot of stress on the body, and you just have to, like, take it easy. And really listen to your body. But yes, the NingXia Red, being able to add that superfood in to get the antioxidants to help your body handle it is huge. Huge.
Yeah. I want to just reiterate what Jim Bob was saying is, you know, when we take on something new, like a new nutrition plan, a new lifestyle schedule, a new exercise program, you're not actually making changes during that training session. You're not making changes necessarily during that meal. It's between those, it's between meals, and it's between, especially between exercise sessions, when you can either build or break down your body. So if we're not getting in enough quality nutrition between exercise sessions, you end up just like Jim Bob was talking about with the flu. And so, you know, one of the challenges, I think, in people adopting new nutrition habits is just to do them on a daily basis. What I love about NingXia is that it's something that tastes good. So, I mean, you kind of look forward to it when it's sitting in the refrigerator. I actually have a bottle right here. This is my bottle because I don't like pour an ounce or two out. I just take the cap off and take a big swig. But I look forward to that at the end of every day when I usually take my NingXia. And the advantage of using NingXia is you're taking the step of drinking this supplement, which can also remind you that, hey, that's right, I got to take my master formula. Maybe you take your master formula in your mouth and then you swallow your NingXia Red. But I love this as a practice, especially, you know, for the first 31 days of 2018 to make this a habit, because chances are if you're doing this, you'll do some of the other nutrition habits that we recommend as well. So again, with whatever you're doing in 2018 to improve your life, it's not usually the action in the moment, it's between the sessions of exercise, between the you know, from one meal to the next, and so on.
It's so true. And Kari Blackmore just said, she said, you know, little bits over time because it's more sustainable, and that is that is the name of the game. Like, the consistency and the sustainability. Like, you know, what can you really sustain? Like, you know, even though I take multigreens and I take fish oil and I take all these other supplements, those aren't as sustainable every day. Because ain't nobody want to swallow a whole handful of pills, even if it's good for you. I mean, every single day, forever, versus swig. You know what I mean? Like, that's way more sustainable. And anything that is more sustainable and more consistent is something that you're going to stick with. And I see this huge in kids too. Like, our kids go right in and they ask for their NingXia every day, like you said, Tom, because it tastes good and it's easy. Two things. It's very simple. It tastes good. Boom. And so that's really important. And, you know, someone else asked, should it take it more in the morning or in the evening? Yes. Like, both. Like, either one. I mean, you just want to get it in. So, no, I think that's so true of just making sure that you're doing something that's consistent like this, and it giving you that mental reminder of, like, oh, you're retraining your brain. You're retraining your brain to make good choices. Like, retraining your brain to think healthy thoughts. Like, you get up and you look at yourself in the mirror, and the reason you put stuff on the mirror like, I'm healthy, I'm strong, I'm beautiful, I'm loved, I'm wanted, is because, not that you necessarily believe it yet, but by seeing it every single morning, by the end of the second month, seeing it and reading it every morning, your brain starts to allow you to believe it. And the same thing of like grabbing NingXia every day. You may not know that you're healthy yet. You may not even care that you're healthy yet. You may not even believe that your body's headed that way because you're not necessarily seeing the changes in the mirror yet. But every time you grab the NingXia, you know you're putting really, really high quality nutrition into your body. And then you go, oh yeah, my probiotics. Oh yeah, my master formula. Oh yeah, my multigreens. Oh yeah, my sulfur summer, whatever other thing, my super C, whatever it is that you're needing so that you don't forget, so you have consistency. Huge.
Right, absolutely. Yep. Okay, so let's say that somebody gets into the habit of this. They're just getting started with NingXia for the first time now with this challenge. They're a week and a half into it, and they're like, I'm doing it every day, but I don't feel a difference. If they're expecting to feel a difference, what would you say to that?
Well, there's a couple things.
Are they not getting anything from it?
No, I mean, you don't feel anything necessarily when you drink water. You don't feel much when you breathe every single time, but you would feel it if you didn't. Like you would feel it if you didn't breathe for a few minutes. And so it's the same thing on the NingXia. Most of the people that I know, unless they're a certain blood typing, only really feel a lot of the difference if they don't take it. There's and we don't have time to get into this, I know, but when you really look at blood typing, there is some credence to the fact of certain blood types notice changes and feel supplements more. Cindy is type A, and she can smell a vitamin C and go, woo! Like, that's crazy. She gets really quick changes on stuff. So we've always, in the history of our practice, tried out new products on her because we'll know, immediately what it does. Versus for me, I'm type O. I don't really feel a lot of difference with most supplements I take. I just know what they're doing, and I know that they're helping, and so I keep doing it, just like anything else. And that's what I tell them all the time when they're like, well, I didn't really feel anything when I did it. I'm like, well, did you drink water today? And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, did you feel a lot different when you drink the water? They're like, no. I'm like, is it still good for you? Well, yeah.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, yeah, it's still good for you. It's not like, well, I tried NingXia, but it wasn't good for me because, I didn't get this crazy energy boost from it. I was like the one person. Nope. It's still good for you. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I've also found that the further along someone is on improving their health, the less of an effect they tend to experience from adding a new supplement, using NingXia, those kinds of things as well. If you have been really eating poorly, totally sedentary, not doing any nutritional supplements, you could very well feel a boost of, perhaps a boost of energy when you're taking NingXia, or
that's very true.
A difference in sleep, or any number of things. Whereas if you've been taking master formula, you're healthy, you're exercising, you're getting enough sleep, that doesn't mean that you're not getting the benefits, because we don't actually feel our body, we don't feel antioxidants taking care of free radicals in our body. That's not you're not like, I just got one.
You're like, dude, superoxide dismutase is working.
We'd be walking around like we're electrocuted all day long.
Got it. Woo. That was quick.
I mean, we're talking about millions of reactions in the body.
We're such nerds. Do you realize? We're making jokes about, dude, did your SOD do its job? That's so legit. We're the ultimate nerds that people stare at in restaurants. That's awesome. That's funny.
The sad thing too is, as we were talking about that, I was actually picturing if that were to happen, what you'd be like walking around. And anyway, we probably, a lot of people are like, what are these guys talking about? But
it does bring up one thing, not to veer off, but it just made me think of this. The way that you focus on the body and your mental thought of what the body's doing is really important. And so it's just like when you're talking about immunity, and we tell patients all the time, and you talk to people, and we tell our teams hey, when you're working on your immunity, you want to focus on and think about your immune cells doing their job. You want to think about them as little soldiers, going in and fighting off whatever's in there. And you want to think about them going in and rebuilding and putting building blocks up. Well, I mean, it really does work that way with the enzymes and with the glutathione. It's not like you go bing and it's the genie in a bottle thing, but it is creating more focal work for the body because you're telling your brain, hey, look, I really want to make sure my antioxidants are working. So there is a whole thing to that of thinking through, and we joke about it, but it's so huge. What is happening when it's in there, and focusing on how much work they're doing,
Yeah. And sometimes that's why
the visualizing of it. That's
the simple images that we can create, or pictures, or even movies that we can play in our head of what we're doing when we make good choices about our nutrition and lifestyle. that will hopefully reinforce the right behaviors. So, if somebody's listening that's like a researcher in antioxidants and they're like, that's not quite right. No, we're not going to get into the super deep details because we're going to bore 99.9% of the population. The point is, if you can just understand the value that you're bringing to your body by taking this simple habit of drinking NingXia Red every day, hey, great, we did our job, right?
Absolutely.
So there's a few different NingXia products, obviously. There's NingXia Red, which is what we've been talking about for the most part. There's NingXia Nitro, or Nitro, like your new dog. That's awesome. There's NingXia Zing. Where would you suggest people start if they are a little bit behind? They're like, oh, I want to do this challenge, but I gotta place my order today. I'm gonna do overnight shipping and make sure that I get it tomorrow so I can jump in. What's the most important out of those?
NingXia Red, for sure. Like NingXia Red's the most important one, for sure, on one thing. So just to add one thing in, and because my biggest deal with people overall, everybody that I've done consults with, for the last 14, 15 years, is you will get the most change out of yourself and out of other people if you add good things in instead of ripping bad things away. Because over time, like we create, attachments to the things that we ingest, whether they're good for us or not, and actually more so when they're bad for us, because those things are actually created to create addiction or create like attachment for you neurologically and physically. So like, let's take soft drinks for an example. It'd be great for everybody to stop like drinking soft drinks, but if you all did it today, you'd all be sick and you'd all hate us. So don't do that. If you do, we're going to blame it on Vanessa and Cindy. They said for you to stop. Not Tom and I. Tom and I said to just keep it up but add good stuff in. All right, remember that. But, the biggest thing about switching stuff out, like the Zing, right? Like Zing is a fantastic alternative and a replacement for soft drinks because it's natural. You've got a little bit of caffeine in it plus the black pepper to help with some energy, that kind of thing. But like I would rather someone add in something really good, start to build up the good stuff in their body and the good antioxidants and all of the good nutrition, more than I would go, stop drinking the Dr. Pepper, what's your problem? Like, drink the Zing.
Right.
Because they're going to stick with it longer. Like, you're going to stick with drinking NingXia Red longer than me ripping the Coke out of your hands, Right. Then the NingXia Nitros, I love those as icing on the cake, period, of just making sure that your body has sustainable energy. And like I said, it is a cognitive enhancer. Like, for me, I don't know how it reacts to you. For me, it totally, like, focuses me in. So when I take a Nitro, like I'm like super focused guy. Like I can get my workout done quicker and I'm not as spacey. If I'm working on stats or I'm doing something with the kids or whatever, like it helps me to like really key in and get on the ball better, but it doesn't make me all like, woo, like bounce around. Right. It doesn't do that. So that's a really great one to add in, but I would start with the NingXia Red.
Awesome. Yep. And you had mentioned, yes, for morning and night, morning versus night. Some people will say, oh, it wakes me up. Others will say it puts me to sleep. Right. So what would you say to that?
Well, it's like salad. Do you rather eat salad in the morning or evening? Well, yes. I mean, it's food. Like it's literally food in a bottle that you can drink that is concentrated to make it more therapeutic. So it really doesn't matter at all throughout the day. There's no perfect solution to it. For me, Amanda says, Jimbo bounces around naturally. He doesn't need anything. That is true. That's very true. Thank you for noticing. But, for me, it's whenever I can think about it. So I just make sure I get it in one time during the day. If that's in the morning, awesome. If that's in the afternoon, awesome. If that's in the evening, awesome. Because, I mean, again, the greens and a lot of the researchers are going to be like, well, it's probably better about 9:47 in the morning because the shift in cortisol and the rise in glucose. And if you look at the glucagon and well, yeah, that's right, but better in than out. That's it.
Right.
And so it's like if whatever works best for your schedule and that you'll remember.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up because it's so common for people nowadays to read blog posts or articles or watch Facebook Lives from so many different sources, and they're like, well, but this person said this and this, and like I've got my timer, so right now I should be taking my NingXia Red in 2 minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to miss out on this specific opportunity, and then I'm going to do my Nitro at 1:47 because I mean that's way overcomplicating it for most people. Right. If you're training for the Winter Olympics coming up here in a couple months or a month or whatever it is. Yeah, you
Yeah,
should probably
maybe.
have a timer
Yeah.
on your watch and be dialing everything into that level of detail. If you're an
Yep.
average person like Jim Bob and me and you know what? Take it whenever you can, and you're going to
Exactly.
get plenty of benefit from that. I'm glad you
Or
brought that
if
up.
that makes it easier for you to remember, like you're like, no, I'm going to take it at exactly 9:37 every
Yeah.
morning. Great. That's totally fine. I have 4 kids, and that's just not possible to have
Right.
the exact same thing happen every day. Every single day is a grab bag of awesomeness. And so I'm just glad to get all the good stuff in, and I am crazy thankful to have a bottle of amazingness that I can just pour up for everybody and get it, so that I know we're getting the nutrition no matter what happens, you know. So yes.
Are there times when you go beyond your couple times a day, 2 ounces twice a day? Do you ever drink more than that?
Sure. You know, now I pretty much stick with the 2 ounces a day, or four rather, 2 ounces twice a day. I stick with that pretty consistently. But up until a few months ago, now I'm going to say this, and people are going to like drop their phone. Don't freak out on this. And I'm not saying you need to drink this much, but I did at the time. I drank an average of 14 ounces a day for about 2.5 years. Then, you know, earlier on this year, you know, Tom knows, and a lot of people on here know, but I shattered my femur back in the spring. And what I found out after I did all that is I have some different genetic things in my body that the NingXia Red was helping me with that I wasn't even realizing at the time. So I needed more, and I was pounding 14 to 18 to 20 ounces a day for a couple years, which is totally fine. Now that I've done other stuff and other work and have taken time, and my stress levels are so much lower because I'm home full time,
Mm-hmm.
I don't need as much. And that's one of the things of the season of like, okay, there's seasons in your life where you may need more, and you've got to learn to listen to your body. Like, you've got to be able to go, hey, you know what? I just need more. Okay. Like,
Yep.
then take more. It's
Yep.
food. It's not going to
Yep.
hurt you. Okay. But if you need less and you know that you're doing well, like now I do 4 ounces a day and I'm perfect, you know?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Excuse me. You know, one of the things that sometimes people will say is, oh, I'd love to be drinking that much, but I can't afford it. And
Sure.
I do want to make mention, I know in a group this size, and based on the way that our average member, shares or doesn't share, the majority of people that are members of Young Living are just really using the products for themselves. Mm-hmm. But anytime somebody says to me, oh man, Tom, I would love to be, doing 2 shots twice a day or 2 ounces twice a day of NingXia Red or whatever, but it costs this much, and with Master Formula, whatever, I can't afford it. Usually what I'll say is, for every $50 increment that they would like to spend on nutritional supplements to help their body, they can just help another member get started and basically pay for that in any given month. So
Right.
If you're listening and you're like, oh, I would love to do it, and I don't have the money for it, hey, get a couple people started with Young Living, help, share the awesomeness of what we have, and
Right.
if they get a premium starter kit through you get $50 in commissions and bonuses, and that pays for your supplements. And so a lot of people will just share with enough people so that they can get a monthly income that covers what their spend is in nutritional supplements. That's a great way to go.
Yeah, I mean, Kroger's not doing that for you, and neither is Costco.
Right.
And we shop there, but I don't get my Costco groceries for free because I've sent 1,000 people there.
Yes.
But if I, send one people to YL, it helps pay for my NingXia, and that's a win-win. The other things I tell people too is just to be really smart about 2 things. One is like, be really smart about budgeting your money, because the only thing that you're not getting back is time. And so
Yes.
I would much rather, and I can speak from personal experience of the last several years of our family just going through a lot of things, I would much rather budget part of our money around, and we have, like, for our family, now again, this is our family, about 3 or 4 years ago, we made the decision to cut out all cable and TV, and we don't have TVs or cable, and we don't pay for that monthly because we wanted to put that money into our health and nutrition to start with, and now we want it to be able to go to other things. And so you'll always find money in areas that you don't know, and you can always find, a little bit extra. And then the other thing is just to be really a good steward of how you're ordering your products with YL, and if you're making sure that you're on Essential Rewards. If you're not on Essential Rewards, you're right. You will probably never be able to afford NingXia Red very well because you're going to pay more in shipping. You're going to pay more for the product than you probably should, all those things.
Yep.
But like Tom said, like you're sharing the product, which you should. But in order to get that $50 thank you, you've got to be on Essential Rewards. Because on Essential Rewards, you can order a NingXia kit, like a NingXia starter kit. Like you can order that on your Essential Rewards to be able to get a better discount on more NingXia. Or you can order a 4-pack or whatever, and you can get better shipping. And that is all like really a lot better way to steward your money and to be able to take care of it. Okay,
awesome.
So that's a lot of what I tell people too. I'm like, you'll find money for what's really the most important thing. And it's not like, and I say that and people are like, well, that's kind of rude. I'm like, well, not really. Like, I'm not saying, well, your health's not important to you if you're not buying a 12-pack of NingXia Red. It's not that. It's just like you have to really re-engage. And this time of the year, it's a perfect time of the year to go, you know what? All the stuff that we're spending our money on, is it really things that are making us better? Like physically, emotionally, spiritually, like am I being a better dad with what I'm spending my money on? Am I being a better husband? Is my health advancing with what I'm doing and with what I'm spending money on? If it's not, why am I doing it?
Yes.
Like, what's the point? You know, like at this stage in my life, I don't have time to be less than what my family needs. Right. So if NingXia Red is going to help me get there, then by gosh, like I will stop doing other things to be able to afford it because I want to be the best I can for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? One of the other things that I've come to appreciate. So I turned 40 last January, and like especially in my 20s, I would exercise, I'd eat, and I wouldn't contemplate longevity the way that I do today. And the unfortunate reality is that we don't see the punishment that we're doing to our bodies in our earlier years until sometimes decades later. Right. And so, you know, when we talk about something like NingXia and the importance of combating free radicals, the antioxidant power of it, taking master formula, all of that stuff, you may not experience a difference in this year, and you may not even actually see in 10 years the effect that it had. But the alternative is if you could see the life of yourself in two versions, the one that didn't take on these nutrition practices, the one that wasn't drinking NingXia, and the one that did, there'd be an incredible difference between those two lives in decades down the road. So sometimes when people say, you know, I was just diagnosed with insulin resistance or diabetes or metabolic syndrome or cancers, for example. You know, my dad had prostate cancer, and in talking with some of the doctors around that, it's extremely common in men, and it usually gets started in their 30s and 40s, but it doesn't show up until 50s, 60s, 70s. But that doesn't mean the cancer wasn't there all along.
That's so true.
What we do today has an enormous effect on our future, and we may never see it, but we're making sure that we're doing everything we can to have the best future, so that in our 60s and 70s and 80s, we're still running around, we're still playing with the kids, we have energy, we're thinking clearly. You know, that you mentioned the cognitive benefits, like with NingXia Nitro, so that's really important to consider.
Well, that's so huge, and I love the fact that you said we may never see it. Well, you would hope to never see the negative effects of what we did, like what we've all done to ourselves. Like, you know, unfortunately, like Cindy and I have talked about this, and we've talked a lot to the kids about, I'm like sitting here looking at my 10.5-inch scar on my leg as I say this, and I'm like, you know, like this benign tumor that built up in my femur that shattered my whole femur, it didn't happen in a day. And, you know, there was a lot of stuff that happened in this. And, you know, Cindy and I have been on this wellness journey and have been really healthy trying for the last 10 to 15 years, right? Like 15-ish years. Before that, I was not at all. Like, I mean, I grew up on a farm and was around tons of pesticides and chemicals and all this stuff. So who knows what that did. But you hope to never see that stuff, and having the opportunity to take stuff like this to help it is huge. And then the other thing I would say as far as like timing on what happens, you know, we say, and we tell people, and you hear these financial gurus that say that where you are now financially is an accumulation of the work you've done for the last 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
So all of the effort you put in for the last 3 to 5 years is what has got you here now financially. Well, I would say, and Tom, you can agree or and back me up or no on this, but health-wise, I would say it's in the last year to 18 months. Like it doesn't take as long because your body changes faster than your bank account. because that compound interest in the body is a lot higher than 7%. I mean, it's really fast because you can completely reset your entire blood supply in 4 months. So you got to figure, 120 days, you get a completely new blood supply, and you get a whole new liver in 21 to 30 days, like your liver regenerates. So you're like, okay, how fast am I going to see really healthy changes? Well, in a month, like for sure, you just may not notice it, like what Tom said. The other thing is like, well, how fast am I going to create negative changes? Faster than you will healthy ones.
Absolutely.
Like faster. Like that's why, like if I'm not lifting anything more than a remote, I lose muscle in 48 hours, right, Tom? Like you start to tear down muscle tissue. 48 hours. If I'm lifting things heavy, I may not see any change of that in a month to 2 months.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't mean it's not changing and making really massive stuff. It just means that, like, you've got to stay on it, and you have to, like you said, choose it so that we get a year down the road and we're healthier than where we are now. Or we get 5 years down the road and we're all more financially secure and healthier and better cognitively and emotionally than we were today. But if we don't do this stuff like NingXia and stuff now, we won't be. Like, that's just it's a guarantee. Like, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. There is no coasting with health. Like, it doesn't work like that. You're either improving or you're declining, period.
Oh, that's such a great example. There's a building that's gone up outside of our window, like when we're sitting in the kitchen. It's a 30-story building, and it's taken about a year and a half or so for the building to go up. It's not done yet, but if you were to, like, if I get up in the morning each morning and I go out there and I look at the building, and it pretty much looks the same as it did the day before. And we tend to do that. Like, I'm going to go for a walk today, and then I'm going to look in the mirror tomorrow. And then we look in the mirror and was that walk really worth it? Because I look the same as I did yesterday morning. I drink my NingXia Red for the next week, and we look in the mirror every day, and nothing is changing. And it's the same as with that building. Like, if I looked every day, there's not much of a change. But what I've done is taken a picture from the same spot out the window for the last year and a half. And it's amazing what that looks like. And if we can think about this as, to your point, 12 to 18 months time of changing habits, like the purpose of this NingXia Red challenge at its core was to do something very simple on a daily basis to start people down a path towards better habits. And so if you do this for the next month, and then you add in February, you keep doing the NingXia Red, and you add, maybe an exercise routine, or perhaps some of the other nutritional products from Young Living. And if you add one consistent new habit every month over 12 months, that's 12 things that you're doing on a daily basis. That would be better than trying to do all 12 this month, because the chance of you actually sticking with it is very low in the long term.
No, I totally agree with that. And I think that's such a huge picture. It's just the building blocks. It's like, like really taking the time and going, hey, we're building this over time. Like, I'm building my house over the course of the next however long I live. Like, hopefully like 60, 70, 80 years. I want to be the really annoying 115-year-old guy that just won't die. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be the guy that people are like, dude, I was for sure that guy would be dead by now, and he is still annoying. He's still loud, and he's still like limping around ever since that leg injury thing. Like, the dude is still here. Like, I want to be that guy. But we've got to make all the building blocks now. If you go, I'm going to do 10 new things this month, and you don't do any of them next month because you didn't lose the 40 pounds you thought you should, well, you're not making changes. It would be like that building. Because I remember the building being built when we were at your house back in September or August or September. And I remember like looking out there and seeing the cranes and everything. Well, if the contractors came out and every day they took out what the guys did the day before, or they changed something every single week, and they were like, I don't like those windows. Take that whole floor off. It would never get to 30 stories. Like, it would be like 2, or it would have a really good basement. I don't know. Like, the parking garage would be pretty, I guess. I don't know, but it would never happen, and no one would ever get to enjoy it. No work would ever get done there. And the purpose, here it is. Here's the whole point of the whole thing. Ready? The purpose of the entire building would never be fulfilled because it would never get there. So the same thing for us. It's like, if we never build that like it's supposed to, we can never fully fulfill all that we're called to and all the purpose that we're put here for. Because if I'm meant to lead these 4 kids in the other end of this house, and I'm meant to show them their purpose and show them their identity, and I'm unhealthy because I didn't drink my NingXia Red or whatever my simple things were, that's on me, and I could have been a better dad for them, but I didn't do it, and I didn't make the choices. You know what I'm saying? So it's like every single day, it's either a choice to be awesome or a choice to be average. And it's like, why? Like when there's something so dang simple, if you're like blark and then like nutrition in a bottle, you know, it's huge.
Yeah, so as we kind of come to a close here, you know, what I would say to all of you that are again, you know, taking this on as a new challenge, and maybe you've got some other goals in mind, or you're thinking about some of the other things that you'd like to add, or I don't like saying add to your life or take away from your life, but maybe replace. So as an example, if somebody says, well, you know, I'm going to start exercising 4 hours a week, you know, an hour a day, 4 days a week. Great. What are you not going to do in order to make that happen? Because there's only so much time that we have. There's only so much, you know, brain that we can work on a regular basis. And so if we try to tackle too much all at once, we will not be successful. However, for some of you, you have a capacity to do a little bit more. So like if we said, you know, I'm not going to, you shouldn't do anything other than NingXia Red for the next 31 days. You'd be like, I think I could do some more. I mean, I'm retired and I've got like
a lot of us would be bored.
Right. So what I would say is take on as much as you can without it becoming a stressful event. Like know what your limits are. And if you're starting to feel like this is too much, back off a little bit. You know, there's nothing challenging at all about, you know, opening a bottle of NingXia and taking a swig.
Boom.
That was easy.
See how good that looks? Simple. I mean, Tom makes that look good. It's awesome.
No stress at all in that. But some of the other stuff that we will add as time goes on, that it takes the momentum and the motivation that comes from establishing some good habits and feeling better and having more energy. Then it's easier to take on the exercise and maybe go to sleep earlier and stuff like that. So,
so good.
So start with NingXia and then add other stuff to that to the point where you know what your limits are. And then you'll be successful. And then in February and March and April, you can layer on new stuff on top of it. The other example that, as Jim Bob was talking about that building, the other way to look at it too is like, if the windows and the concrete and the footings and all of this stuff showed up on the job site on the same day, people would be spinning their wheels saying, I don't know what to do, and nothing would happen because there'd be too much stuff on the job site's property. They had to dig holes first and then pour the foundation, and then once the foundation was built, then they could start adding floors. The windows didn't show up until the building was I think it was probably about 20 stories high before the first window went in. And so apply that same principle of do what you can that's not going to create chaos, and then layer on a little bit more as time goes on.
Yep.
Anything that you'd want to
well, the only other analogy I would say, I'm big on, you know, pictures and that. And the other thing I think of is, you know, Harper, our 9-year-old, is a huge football fan. He's a big Cowboys freak, and he's an Alabama fan. Roll Tide, good game last night, just so in case you guys know. But, you know, we talk about trades a lot, and Harper and I talk about him like we talk, and I'm like, hey, are you going to play on the team today? Are you going to be a starter today, or am I going to have to bench you? You know, that kind of thing, and different things. Well, if you are your own coach and your own team, it's like you're trading. And you never see a team trade down, right? Like you don't see the Minnesota Vikings, Tom, go, you know what? I really wish we had a worse quarterback. Or I went, you know, gosh, our wide receivers are too good. Can we go get somebody that's like not as motivated or that's a troublemaker is going to get arrested? That would be awesome. I would much rather have wide receivers that are not going to play ball with us, because that's really going to advance the team. No, that doesn't happen. But you see people trade down on themselves and on their health every day. Oh, it's okay today. I'm going to go ahead and do Diet Coke because it's quote unquote less calories. I just like the taste. Well, that's dumb. I mean, like, I'm just going to say it. Like, that's dumb. That just makes absolutely no sense. You know what? Like, I really have these health goals I want to do, but I would rather watch The Bachelor.
Yes.
That's trading down. I mean, it really is trading down on your health. So it's like, why would we do that? And I think it's just like thinking about, okay, again, am I advancing or am I backing up? Like, what is this thing that I'm about to choose doing,
Yep.
and
Yep.
pre-planning it and not letting the day happen to us? I mean, you know, those of you watching, Tom is super inspiring, and that everything is so like well planned out. Like, he thinks through things really well. He maps things out really well in advance. Like, he knows, like he says, like, well, I'm not the guy that like watches my clock and drinks my NingXia at 9:37. I'm like, he doesn't, but he also knows that he's going to work out around 11:15. He's going to eat his first meal around 2:15, and he has it mapped out exactly because he knows his body. He's listened to it, and he always is trading up because he doesn't want to be where he was before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't want to be the guy and the kid that you were 20 years ago or whatever. The same thing. Like I don't want to be the guy I was in college. So if I trade down every day, I'm going to be the guy I was in college or high school. Like, I'm going to be unhealthy, and I'm going to have anger issues because my blood sugar is going to be off. But if I'm trading up all the time, then we're only improving. It's like investing in good things. If you invest in good things all the time, you're only going to make more money. If you invest in crappy things, you're not going to be able to invest in stuff for very long. So it's just that conscious choice of it.
That's
super
an
good.
Awesome analogy. Awesome analogy. Yep. So we have what we can do here just to wrap things up is if you have some specific questions related to NingXia Red that are not diagnosing, treating, prescribing, like I have this, you know,
can't talk about that
0.1% condition, and how would NingXia Red help me with? No, none of that. But if you do have some basic questions, this is a great time to open it up for questions. We saw, you know, hundreds of comments going through. So as Jim Bob and I were talking, we didn't see your comments. We'll definitely go back in and can respond to those throughout the day today. And of course, some of you are catching this on the replay as well. So if you have stuff that you'd like to ask, feel free. But for those of you that are still on, there's about 500 of you on live right now. Go ahead and throw out some questions if you have them. We'll do some really quick hit questions, and then we'll wrap this up. So will it address blood sugar levels? That was one question that came up.
It's a great one. You want to handle that, or you want me to handle it?
Go for it. I'll keep an eye on the questions coming in.
NingXia Red is fantastic for blood sugar. It's one of the biggest reasons why I recommend taking NingXia Red. Blood sugar is really dependent on consistency of really good quality sugars, like your glucose you're taking in, and your good fruit sugars, and your good proteins. But it's also about how easy it is to get into the body. So the thing about NingXia Red that's awesome is you're getting an actual incredible protein store out of the wolfberry, which is really interesting. But the puree of the fruits that are in the NingXia Red creates a really good amount of really digestible, really healthy sugars to keep your blood sugar level and sustainable throughout the day. So if you know that there's a certain time of the day when your blood sugar has a harder time staying stable and it starts affecting you, that would be that'd be a great time to take your NingXia. When our kids get out of school and we know we're about to get them and bring them home, we hand them a NingXia packet because we know it's been a while since they've eaten anything. You know, like happy kids are well-fed kids and they have NingXia because their blood sugar is stable. So stuff like that is really important. So yes.
Okay.
Tom, somebody else asked about pre or post workout. That'd be a you question.
Okay. What I would recommend for NingXia, personally, I like not doing anything around exercise in terms of nutrients. Coffee, definitely you could do just because it's got some caffeine in it. But as we talked about at the beginning, your body has its own antioxidant system. And if we overdo the supplemental use of antioxidants around the time when we're challenging that system, we don't get as much benefit from it. So I'm kind of a big believer in waiting, you know, probably an hour, sometimes a few hours afterwards, with the exception of if somebody's doing something like a triathlon or they're running super long distances. I really recommend the use of antioxidants, drinking NingXia Red, those kinds of things during an event such as that, because there's so much free radicals you're producing. Mm-hmm. But for the average person who's exercising, I like the idea of waiting an hour or two afterwards to do your NingXia and do your master formula and so on, so that your body has to come up with some of its own antioxidants by itself.
Yep, that's good. Carissa asked a question, and Carissa, I'm going to say yes. That's the only thing I'm going to say to that question. You asked a question about specific people. Yes. To that. That's all you need to know. You can go look that up. Somebody else asked about like supporting iron levels. It does really help support iron because NingXia Red is really good at helping to support red blood cells. It's like taking chlorophyll, right? Like chlorophyll helps with red blood cell supply. Red blood cells are what carry the hemoglobin, which is what carries your iron. So it'll help with iron supply. It's not an iron supplement, though. Like, it's different. This is a whole food-based thing. This is not a micronutrient supplement. You're not getting, 2.358 milligrams of selenium and 5 grams. That's not what this is. It's literally like taking a bunch of super fruits and putting them in a Vitamix, then literally like concentrating them down even more and pouring them in a bottle and then pouring them down your mouth. So it's different. You get really good nutrition out of it, but it's not like that. So different.
Awesome. ORAC value of NingXia. I don't know the number off the top of my head. You might.
The serving size of NingXia has an ORAC value of 30,000 plus. It's like 32,000 and change or something like that. So in comparison, blueberries are 2,000, like 2,400. ORAC value, NingXia is 30,000.
Awesome.
But even in comparison to that, clove oil per serving is 1 million. The ORAC value.
So put a drop of clove in your NingXia?
Just saying. I'm like, it might be a good deal.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody had mentioned it's hard to catch up at 65. I know that wasn't a question, but I just want to make a comment that if you're 80 and 90 and you're listening to this, you can still build strength, you can build muscle, you can improve your health.
Never too late.
You're never, ever too late. No. And matter of fact, the people that are starting a little bit later in the game are sometimes the most powerful success stories and testimonials because of the amazing things that you can do to reclaim your health and wellness.
Well, because you've lived more life to know why you want to be healthy.
Yes.
Like, the thing I think that is the most beneficial about being 50 years, 60 years, 70 years plus and taking back your health is you had plenty of time not being healthy, or you had plenty of times in seasons where your body wasn't functioning 100%. And so there's a lot more passion there that when I've worked with patients who are older, because they understand the value, because they understand what it was like when it was not. So huge benefit.
Does it support, if this was asked differently, but I'll ask it in a compliant way, does it support normal inflammatory levels?
It does support normal inflammatory levels. Now, I will say this. Someone else asked who shouldn't take NingXia Red. There's 2 people that I would say, there's no one that shouldn't take it. There's a couple people that should be careful taking it and should pay attention while they take it. One, anyone who has diabetes and has blood sugar issues that's medicated. Or anyone who's on a major medication, just like any other supplement, you need to just pay attention to your body. Let your doctor know that you're taking it. Say, hey, I'm going to take a superfood drink, and just pay attention. Because it's not that the NingXia Red will affect the medication. It's not like that at all. But NingXia Red increases function in the body. And so if the body's working better, then sometimes the meds work better. You need to pay attention to that. That's one. The other person that needs to pay attention is someone who has a major autoimmune conditions, like extreme, not like you're a little sore in the morning, like extreme autoimmune issues. You just need to pay attention to it. And as you take your dosing, make sure that it's really helping the body or not.
Awesome. Along those lines, because you had brought up the blood sugar, somebody had asked about, can you use it on a low-carb diet? And in my opinion, low carb, and there's low carb and there's ketogenic. A low-carb diet is generally going to be 150 grams or less, or 100 grams or less, depending on what your carbohydrate goal is. And I mean, that's one of the things I love about NingXia is that 2 ounces of it only has 5 grams of carbs, 5 grams of sugar in it. So it's really easy to use that, within a low carbohydrate diet. If you're on a ketogenic diet, maybe you just do a serving or 2 a day, but even ketogenic, as long as you're under 30 to 50, depending on the person, 30 to 50 grams a day, you can still maintain ketosis. And so in my opinion, it can still be done well. You might not do the swigs or take the full glasses like I will sometimes. That might be pushing you a little bit, but
you may just stick to the average dose. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Pregnancy.
Massively important in pregnancy. Super important in pregnancy. Well, I'm just going to say that. There's tons of reasons why, but not to go so long that you guys are tired of hearing us talk. Yes, majorly important in pregnancy.
Can it be taken with a blood thinner medication?
It can, but you need to pay attention. Like, you need to talk to your doc, and they need to be regulating it, because it can be a blood thinner, just like you eating more kale. I mean, like you eating spinach is a blood thinner, and so you just need to pay attention.
Someone said, I have someone in my downline that feels aggressive or short-tempered. So again, some of the unique claims that people may make after taking NingXia. Anomalies, is it placebo?
There's always unicorn responses is what I call them, like that happen. And if that's you, it's the same type of people that you'll have somebody say, hey, when I have a certain type of fish, it makes me feel like whatever, and they're the only person, fine, don't drink that fish. Or don't eat that fish. It's like if it doesn't work with your body, don't take it. It's fine. There's other things to take. But if there's any kind of those issues, I totally 100% think it's either their hormones resetting or it's a blood sugar problem that they need to have addressed, and they need to have blood work and lab work done with someone who can help them figure out what their metabolism is doing or what their endocrine system is doing. Because that shouldn't happen.
Yep. And the lab testing, that's a really great point. So often when we're using nutritional supplements, changing our habits and stuff, we just base whether something is working or not working on how we feel. And the only way to know whether we're really healthy is getting blood tested regularly. So I always encourage people to go talk to their doctor about a complete lab panel every year. Hormones, sex hormones, thyroid, inflammatory markers, all of that, more than just getting your cholesterol, lipids, and glucose and blood pressure tested. That doesn't tell you much compared to a complete lab test. So if any of you are asking about specific health-related stuff, I always say start with the lab testing first, and then you've got something to measure over time to make sure that your new habits are actually having an effect.
So good.
All right. Okay,
awesome.
There's other questions on there. If we didn't get your question answered, we can jump in and respond to those as the day goes on or as the days go on. But thank you, Jim Bob, for tuning in with me on this day one. We hope that everybody who tuned in is inspired. Hopefully you already had your first swig or shot of NingXia Red this morning. And this will be a great, fun experience. And I can't wait to learn from all of the other diamonds that are participating.
It's going to be a good group. I was just telling Cindy that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Have an amazing day. Very happy New Year, and best wishes on resolutions, goals, whatever it is that you have planned for 2018.
Take care. Go crush it.
Bye-bye.